I've said this before, libraries aren't just repositories of printed materials. They're an extremely important part of our community for our kids and for our adult residents. And it's just a function of a 21st century library. It's going to look very different from a 19th century library, but it's still going to be a library. And we only have one. Nobody's talking about creating the kind of satellites or the multiple location library like they have in Lower Merion. So it's really important that when we do this once, we do it right. And the worst thing we could possibly do is cut the ribbon on a new library a year from now or 18 months from now and immediately regret that we didn't do enough, or that it wasn't modern enough, that we didn't take advantage of the environment right now for cheap money, for cheap labor, and for, frankly, free space that we have at the township.
I don't disagree. It's a, I didn't disagree with anything that you said there. My concern has always been, and you do this, as you said, you do it the one time, you're going to do it, get it right. So I'm all in favor of getting it right. And if that includes looking at every aspect to go into the 21st century, then fine, let's do that.
And Mr. D'Amelio, I do know and respect your concern about taxes, about the tax burden on Haverford Township. And we know Mr. Walker last week gave us, a terrific summary of different financing options. I have them in front of me now. I just want to put out a few numbers so people understand what we're really talking about. When somebody says we're going to borrow $30 million, people immediately think, oh my God, my taxes are going to go up because now I have to pay $30 million. On the largest project that was presented to us last week, the highest debt service in any year is approximately $1.4 million. That's in a year. When we're doing the debt service on new money associated with the most expensive project that was put before us last week. Now, $1.4 million in debt service added to our budget. Understand that our budget is only about 60% of our revenue number, and Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but about 60% of our revenue number is made up of property taxes from residents. All the other revenue that comes in from different areas. So we only need to come up with 60% of that debt service from property taxes, and the rest will come from the revenue that grows every year from the other revenue generating things in the township. So that $1.4 million becomes $1 million. Now, $1 million divided in a year among the approximately 17,500 households in Haverford Township is $60. So I want people to understand, when somebody says your taxes are going to go crazy, your taxes are going to go up. And half the people in this township would have a tax increase of $60 or less on their property taxes if we did the most expensive one, and that was the annual debt service. So I need folks to understand that that's what we're talking about. Those are the real, actual dollars we're talking about. So Mr. Walker will be back when we're discussing these financings, but I just want to make sure that we always put concrete dollars in these numbers when we're talking about it, and not just talk about percentages, and not just talk about that they're going to go up crazy or astronomical, or people are going to be driven out of the township. I want people to understand the actual real dollars we're talking about.
So,
Mr. D'Amelio?
looking at Scheme 6, which would be the new administration building with a new police station, new two-story library, and over 2 levels of structured parking, the debt service would be $1,480,000. Is that correct? Correct?
That's what the numbers, something like that.
That's what Mr. Walker's numbers show.
Okay,
yeah.
so the impact on a median assessed property is $72. That's what we have here.
Do we? I mean, I did back of the envelope math.
So
at 60,
my
but
other
72.
my other question is, Amy, it says here real estate tax impact would be 6.9%. That's just on that. That doesn't include what Mr. Gentili would need to run the township. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Okay, so if Larry needs 6%, you're looking at almost a 13% tax increase. I mean, I just put it. Is that right? Am I right or wrong? In total, okay.
And you're just talking for this one project, too. You're not talking overall for the whole township. Just for an example, the school district announced, what is it, $163 or $263? Those are going up. I mean, where does it end for the people?
Well, the
That's
school
the
district
question.
just went up 3.58%. They just passed it, the school district, and that's 70% of the
Forget
tax.
forget the percentages. It's $263 that the people can't afford, especially the
Not
senior citizens.
$363 to every single person. It depends on what your tax is. It's not $363.
Oh, I only use the figures they used in the
Not to me.
papers.
It's different for every household.
Sure it is.
So you can't just say it's $363 when it's not.
And I'm sure yours is a lot higher than that, am I right?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Yes.
enough, really. Really. Okay.
Not that that
Any other-
plays
any other-
into it,
any other-
really.
School district
any other
burden is
discussion
the
on
school
the
district
building
burden. I mean, we
itself?
have no effect. We have no ability to affect the school district.
That's right.
Issues and the taxes folks have to deal with.
That-
Our job is
that-
to make sure that the township.
You're talking about the citizens of Haverford Township, and you have no effect on what the school district, but they're going to charge these people, these same people, a tax rate, and you're going to charge them a high tax rate, and they can't afford it. So don't say it doesn't affect them.
I said we have no effect on. We have no
No,
say.
you don't raise their taxes, but their
No say.
taxes were raised.
Okay.
Okay, their taxes are raised. Their
Okay,
taxes are raised
so
at
they
the federal
can't
level,
afford it. That's it.
Level, but that doesn't mean we're not going to
Well, you
fix
have
our
to do.
assets in this township.
Well, you
We've been for
understand
30
that,
years. People have been kicking the can down the road, and we have serious infrastructure problems. We have our policemen working out of a trailer. We got township people who can't go down in the basement during rainstorms. We've got a library that doesn't have enough parking, doesn't have modern facilities, can't expand.
Doesn't have
And
enough
that's a
parking,
fact.
but the
That's a
busiest
problem.
library in Delaware County, am I right?
That is the.
That's what the librarian told me, and I'm not against the library fixing it up. But let's be reasonable
Hey,
here.
which one?
Jimmy,
Who's
let-
got the floor?
Let Larry have the floor, and when he's done, you
All
can
right, I'll
speak.
get him in.
Okay? Go ahead, Larry.
So all I'm saying is we have a duty as we extract more and more work out of our township workers, as we expect more and more from our police, and as we count more and more on the library to provide services for not just the kids in this township, but for the families in this township. We have a duty to make sure they do it with good, efficient, and modern assets, and we haven't done that. In the almost 20 years I've lived in this township, I've watched this board, with me on it and with me not on it, not take the steps we need to do to modernize the township. And the problem is the situation gets worse, and not just a year worse. It exacerbates every time we don't make the badly needed repairs. Every time we don't modernize, the situation and the fixes get more expensive and less effective. And now is the time for us to do this. And that is just a fact of life, that government costs money and that the services we provide people cost money. And we've just got to make sure that what we get for that money is the best thing we get for that money. And fixing up a 100-year-old building, because we're not interested in building a new one that's modern, that will run cheaper, that will be easier to fix, that will last longer. I mean, that's not responsible. That's not responsible government. That's all I have.
Commissioner McGarry.
Yes, as you said, Larry, we have a responsibility to the people of this township, and you may have been around 20 years, I've been around here 60 years, and I think a lot of things have been positive in Haverford Township. I think we have the best police force, the best fire companies, and I think we're doing the best with what we can, but we can't go overboard, and I think we're going way overboard with this. The Bogosian plan will show you that's the plan you should follow. That's all I have to say.
Commissioner Stevens.
But this debate about what we're doing, and we have an excellent police force, and we have an excellent fire system, and all of that, begs the question and the issue that what drives property values, what drives people to move into a community or to flee a community, are the quality of certain particular services. That's why we have a terrific park system. The quality of our schools matters. That's why certain districts and certain areas see their property values increase. A library is the same type of thing. A library, there's a recent Pew study, and I'll be happy to circulate it to the members of the board, a 3-year study done by the Pew Trust, which is based right out near here, which demonstrated and proved that libraries, despite digitization, are still the center of communities. They are drivers in property values. They are drivers in community education. 2/3 of all people, according to that study, who use the library, and we have 250,000 users a year, are engaged in their communities, and those communities benefit from not only the engagement, but what the results are in property values, and that's critical. Our job here is not just to maintain a budget. It is to maintain and improve the value of this community and to be certain that the properties that are in this community maintain or improve their value. We can do it by replacing sewers, but people don't move here because we have a new police station. They won't move here because we have a new township building, even though we need both of them. They're not moving here because we vitally need a new public works yard. They will move here because we have a library that is first class and ready to serve the community. They will move here because our schools are committed to excellence. Tonight they're graduating students, and they have an excellent record for that. That's what drives people to come here. That's why I moved here 28 years ago, because of the quality of education, the quality of the people, and the quality of services. And we have that responsibility, and if we abdicate it, we are not serving our residents, in my opinion.
Anyone
Yeah,
else? Commissioner D'Amelio.
There's no doubt in my mind that we have infrastructure issues, that the library certainly did. I visited the library with several of my colleagues, and I did see the issues that they have. I've heard about the issues with the police station, and I've heard about the issues with the township building. That's not to say, I think some of my colleagues are making it more about the library than all three buildings. And I don't understand that. First of all, I disagree with you that they come here because of the library. They do come for services, and they do come for the school district, the great school district that we have. That's true. And an easy way to ruin a township or any municipality is to raise taxes beyond the reach of people who can pay it. That's what forces people out. You can look at... I'm sorry?
Are you done?
No.
Okay, go ahead, finish.
You could look at communities and say, well, what changed a community? There are several factors that change a community, obviously. But one of them is if people cannot afford to live in their homes, and I get a lot of phone calls from senior citizens telling me about their taxes and how bad it is. And the problem is that when people can't afford their homes and they start to move out, to downsize or just to get out totally, then you have an influx of homes, and it drives the price down. It doesn't drive it up. There's so many homes in the market. In my ward recently, I've seen it. Rich, I don't know if you've seen it. A lot of homes for sale. It was staggering, the amount of homes for sale now. That concerns me that so many people want to move out of the township. At least, I drive around. I see it all the time. I think, no doubt in my mind, there are things that we need to do to solve some of the issues that we have. There's no doubt in my mind. We should do those things and do them, obviously, responsibly. And you're right. That's the service that we provide, the service that we provide for the police, for our township, to get the job done, to pick up our trash, to handle our leaves and whatnot. Yes, but make those changes and those improvements in a responsible manner.
Commissioner Hall.
I would just like to say that the taxes have been high here for a long time for a lot of reasons, and they're not anything to do with what we're doing right now. The taxes are already high, and they're already high because there was mismanagement prior to this board, and they just kept going up and no improvements were being made. And if you don't improve this community, you will see people move. You will see them move, and they will go to a community. I had someone say it to me the other day, I will move. And we have got to invest in this community. This is one of the best communities around. We have unbelievably talented professionals moving in here, and everyone that participates in this community loves this community, and we need to do something to move it into the next generation. We owe it to them. We're an inner ring suburb. They're the most coveted suburbs anywhere in any city in the United States. What we have to do is invest in this community. We truly do. And we cannot have buildings falling down. And we need to invest in our police department. They are working in, the first day I was commissioner, I went down there, and they are working in an environment that is unacceptable. We need to do that. The library came in here because it is a time to borrow money. I bought my first house, my mortgage was 13.5%. It's now 3.5%. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would ever see interest rates at that rate. If we continue to put this off longer and longer and longer, the rates will go up, all the construction costs will go up. I just feel like we have to make the right decision. We're not saying tonight that we're going to move that library, but what we want to do is make the right decision. That's all. And I don't appreciate personal attacks on what I pay for taxes, Mr. Commissioner McGarity. I really don't.
Well, I just asked you a question. I mean, do you pay higher taxes? You said you did.
Jim?
I don't think that matters, does it?
Well, I think it does matter, but I won't get into it
Personal.
now.
I think
Please
it's
don't get
personal.
into it. If you'd like to say something about the discussion on this, go.
Well, I'd like to say, yeah, listen, they tell you about the library, and this is what brings people here. And we have a decent library, and it's very well run by the director. I have no problems with that. As far as the way they're talking, it sounds like they're getting off the beat here. I have no problems fixing the police station, and I agree with Mrs. Hall on what she just said about the police station. It truly should have been done years ago, but it wasn't, and that has to be done. The others are basically things that can be fixed without building new things, and I believe that's the route to go. That's the cheapest, most reasonable way that the people can afford that we must do, and that's what I believe in. And as far as the people coming here, we do have a great police department. It's a safe community. Everybody will tell you that. We have 5 fire companies. We were the largest fire company in the state of Pennsylvania, right here in Haverford Township. So we have served the people well. The paramedics and the ambulances have served the people well. That's why these people are coming here. Anybody and these older people that have been transported to Bryn Mawr Hospital, they'll tell you how well treated they were by the paramedics, by the ambulance service and all that, and how well it is they love to live in Haverford Township because we take care of them, meaning all these different organizations I just mentioned. That's why they come here.
Anyone else?
Mr. President, I just wanted to, again, I like to use numbers rather than just concepts. Mrs. Hall did talk about the taxes being high in the township. The school taxes make up most of our tax bill, and then Delaware County taxes are a little lower than our local township taxes. But I just want people to understand the median township tax bill, and by median, 50% of the people in the town pay less than this number, 50% of the people in this town pay higher than this number. The median number is $1,051. That's a year. In a year, you get 36 parks. You get 136 miles of streets that are patrolled and protected. You have 72 police officers. We pick up trash twice a week and pick up lawn waste and do single stream recycling. We do all these other things for less than the average cable bill, and certainly less than what it costs to insure a new automobile. Okay, people need to understand what they get for their tax dollars and how much those tax dollars really are and what they are compared to the other things you spend in your life, your insurance, your mortgage, your cable bill, your wireless phone bills, okay? All of these things exceed your township, the median township tax bill, okay? So people need to understand the value we are extracting from our township from our township assets and from our township workers. And we have got to put them in modern facilities.
Okay.
Thanks.
Hey,
I'll take it.
thank you to that one
Better light
person.
a single candle than curse the darkness,
All right.
right?
So now that we've done with that discussion, let's move forward to the Citizens Forum.
Are we done?
Yes. We're moving forward to the Citizens Forum.
Anybody sign up?
We have a lot of people signed up. Carol McDonald, speaking about the Jack McDonald Foundation.
Nice to be back as a visitor. For the record, my name is Carol McDonald. I have lived in Haverford Township for over 45 years. I'm at 1400 Fairview Avenue. Thank you, Mr. President, and members of the board for giving me the opportunity of coming again tonight to speak about my husband's foundation. As many of you are aware, Jack sat on this very board for 27 years, representing the 9th Ward, until his sudden death in early 2001. And in Jack's memory, a foundation was created. The mission of our foundation is to help the youth of Haverford Township, to help the youth achieve their goals in both academic and athletic endeavors. We also do our best to help families that are going through difficult times, whether from illness or death, or sometimes of the loss of employment. I've left some brochures up here on the desk, and I've given one to each of the board members. It explains what we've done over the past 13 years and who we've contributed to. Over the years, we've given to most of the township youth athletic programs, and we continue to do so. We have one fundraiser. Once a year, we have a golf outing. And this year, again, it's at the, I always get this wrong every year. You can tell I'm not a golfer. The Hickory Valley Golf Club in Gilbertsville, Pennsylvania. This year, it's on Saturday, June the 28th, and all the details are on the brochures that I left on the table. You'll see on the brochures many of the donations we've made over the past several years as well. But you don't have to be a golfer to help support our cause. We ask anyone, whether it's businesses, families, individuals, to support us by being a whole sponsor. That's how we raise most of our money, and our money stays here in Haverford Township, mostly for the youth in the township. I want to thank all of the township residents, and especially the Board of Commissioners, particularly the ones, there were so many of this board that supported us last year. And I encourage you to encourage anyone that didn't support us last year on this board to do so this year. I'm asking all of the residents, both here and anyone who's watching at home, to please make an effort to support our foundation. It's something that Jack was most important in his life, helping the youth in the township. He coached many, many teams, and he was the first one to reach in his pocket for $5 or $10 to support a good cause in the township. So again, I thank you for giving me the time to speak here tonight. And one more thing, our board is always looking for individuals or families, organizations that need our help and support. So if anyone on the board or in the public has anyone in mind or any organization, if you contact any of our board members, and we're all listed on the brochure, we will certainly look at your suggestion and do our best to help that person, individual, or organization. Again, thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the time being here tonight, and forgive me, I have to run because our board meeting started at 7, and I have to be there before it ends, so thank you.
Next up, Fred Steigerwald.
Good evening. My name is Fred Steigerwalt. I live at 237 North Belfield Avenue. In addition to being a 9th Ward resident, I'm also the president of the Hilltop Baseball and Softball Challenger League. Before I get into my main topic, I would like to extend a big thank you to Rich Doherty and Jason O'Brien for all the work they did at the Hilltop, Steelfield, and Glendale field complexes. If you think about it, about 12 weeks ago, we were all wondering when all that snow would melt. And in that time, they were able to put together some excellent baseball, softball fields for us. And actually, believe it or not, we're starting to conclude our season. So I'd like to thank those two gentlemen, and Larry and Tim, Mario and Bill, for all the work you did and for everything that was done at Hilltop this year. The main topic I have for tonight is the parking down at the Steelfield complex itself. I would like to thank Larry and Bill and Tim for including me on plans for a new pavilion they're putting at Hilltop Park. Today, Tim provided me an outline of the plan for the new pavilion, a new amenity to any park that's exciting and welcomed. I understand how the new pavilion will benefit the 6-week summer rec program, as well as possible family events and sporting groups. My concern is the facility is parking. With both spring and fall sports at the facility, parking has become an issue. Often cars are illegally parked on both sides of Steel Road, and homeowners have inserted stakes in their front yards to deter parking on their grass. Fans have now begun to park deeper into residential areas such as Leadham Road, which is not typical. I do not believe the fans have malicious intent when parking illegally, but rather a reflection of our society today. I often witness grandparents bringing their children to games while mom and dads come before game time directly from work, where we used to have one car per family, now it's 3. What I ask is that we review the site for new parking options before any construction begins on the pavilion. I believe it would benefit the neighbors, the fall and spring programs, our police resources who are often called upon to move those cars away, and Bill Wexler's cell phone. If you rank the park's needs, I believe first it would be parking, and then second would be a second pavilion. So again, my request is just to review the parking down there, see if we can build new parking options first, and then add the new pavilion after that. Okay, thank you.
Mr. and Mrs. Heller? Mr. or Mrs. Heller? How you doing?
Sorry, Mr. Heller had to step out for a minute, so I have some of our other neighbors. Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for letting us express our concerns. We're residents of Fourth Ward, and we've had a number of issues with water drainage issues in the township, which I'm sure was addressed at last month's meeting. And we have photos, and my husband and I moved into our home in December of 1998. On August 1st of 2004, on June 26th of 2007, on September 6th of 2011, on Labor Day of this past September 2013, and as recently as April 30th of 2014, we've had water problems. And the photos here will show you what we're dealing with. We had asked that Mr. Gentili, who is greatly aware of our issue and is probably tired of receiving my phone calls and me appearing in person in his office all the time. We had a meeting here in October discussing with Mr. Pannoni, who has an extensive list of things that he feels would help remediate the problem, one of them being a drainage pipe between our homes to be increased in size to allow the water to properly drain. Second one is also to have, instead of that, or in place of it, and you can correct me if I'm incorrect, Mr. Pannoni, is to have a pipe continue down Mill Road, all the way down past Arlington into the larger drainage pipe, which would allow the water to drain off from coming into our homes. And we know that the township has recently made efforts to open up some of the storm drains, but that's not going to solve the problem. We had a meeting at our home back in September 2011 with quite a few of the residents on our street, which is Ridgeway, and on Woodmere Way. Mr. McGarity and Mr. Doherty were present at that time, discussing our issues and our concerns. And on October 15th of 2013, we also had a meeting here at the township with Mr. Gentili, Mr. McGarity, Mr. Pannoni, and quite a few of the residents in the area. And we discussed, with the help of Mr. Pannoni, our concerns as to what we think could solve the problem. We understand that a new library and a new police building is a concern of some of the residents and the commissioners, but we think that word of mouth and taking care of your local residents that live here are going to encourage others to move here. I was born and raised in this township on Eagle Road. I lived in London, Los Angeles, New York, and Baltimore, and I moved back to this township. I'm a makeup artist in the television and film industry. I was a part of some very large productions. One of them is Silver Linings, which put...
Oh, yeah, movie.
Check all these movies and you will see my name in the credits. It put Silver Linings and the Lenart Diner on the map. And I'm proud to say that I live here in Haverford Township, but I'm not proud to say that our township isn't there to take care of its residents. A new library and a new police station will not encourage people to move here. Word of mouth and taking care of your residents will. And as some of you commissioners had mentioned, as you said in regard to the library, do it one time and do it right. We're asking for that same help. And the responsibility of the township to maintain and improve properties in this township. Isn't that what you said this evening, Mr. Holmes? Those were your words. And you said that we need to make the changes to be responsible to our residents, and we're asking for that help. We're not quite sure what the amount it would cost, but we were told it would be roughly around $1 million to extend a pipe down Mill Road to help with the drainage issues.
Okay. Please.
We're also concerned about what the quality of the water runoff that is coming onto our properties and into our homes is causing. Has anyone thought of testing that? Has anyone thought of coming and helping us out? And who's responsible for the remediation of the soil if it is contaminated? We have young children living in these homes, running around in the backyards playing. These are all concerns of ours. And I don't know if I touched on any one of the topics and if anyone else wants to add anything.
Okay. All right. Yeah, after everyone speaks, we'll respond to all the questions, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's back.
All right, I want to remind everybody you have 3 minutes to speak. Kathy Cirillo? Kathy Cirillo? Oh, okay, here she comes.
Mario, you said, you told me 5.
7.
No, for Gary.
Good evening. Thank you, gentlemen, for listening to me. Mrs. Hall, thank you. My name is Kathy Cirillo. I live at 1528 Ashton Road. Previously, I lived in the 3rd Ward. I've been in the township since 1967, and I'm here to ask the commissioners if I can get some help understanding the situation that I have. I've approached the park board and asked for permission to have a ball field renamed after my husband, Joe Cirillo, who was very active in the community in our township. And I'm just not sure as to what the procedure is. I approached them in January and was told that I would need to get a petition. I did that, and now I am scheduled to have my 3rd meeting with the park board, and before it goes in front of the commissioners. If you could help me out here, could you let me understand how the procedure works and why somebody would have to go 3 times to get permission, to be, how do you phrase it? To be evaluated or whatever, then recommended to the Board of Commissioners. I'm a little confused. If someone could help me out, I would really appreciate it.
We could explain that.
I gave information and stuff to each one of the commissioners, I believe. You just have a copy of everything I gave.
I didn't get any of this stuff. No, we didn't get anything.
No, that-
I don't have it.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. So we have.
Okay.
Oh, is that it there?
It's a letter that was addressed to the board, and also a copy of my husband's resume and petitions, which has 282 signatures, and I still have more to come if needed. I thank you, and thank you for your help, helping me understand the process.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good enough? I got more. Thank you, Mrs. Cirillo.
Mario, when the time comes, I'd like to answer Mrs. Cirillo.
It's okay, I can handle it.
I've seen it,
No, I
thank
mean,
you.
I would like to interject on
Okay,
that.
all right.
I've been at all the meetings.
Okay, Dawn Chapman?
Good evening. My name is Dawn Chapman. For the record, I live in 1458 Maryland Avenue, and I've been a resident of Haverford Township for 38 years. I'm also the president of the Linwood Park Civic Association, so I'm here this evening representing them. The Linwood Park Civic Association is located in the 1st and 4th Ward. I stand before you this evening to respectfully request support from the board to dedicate the World War II Memorial on the corner of Robinson Avenue and Fairmount Road to Mary G. Sealander for her dedication to the Linwood Park community. Mary spent her life taking care of children. She worked with foster children as a social worker and as an instructional aide working with the learning disabled children in the Haverford Township School District for 22 years. While dedicating her life to helping others, she also volunteered her time with the Linwood Park Civic Association and served as the president for several years. Mary was the pulse of our community's 4th of July celebration and actively participated in the event for over 40 years. She and her husband, Ed, tirelessly took care of the World War II Memorial across the street from their home at the intersection of Robinson and Fairmont. They placed flags around the memorial and planted flowers out of respect for Ed's fellow veterans and to help prepare for the annual Linwood Park Civic Association's 4th of July celebration. Mary passed away this past January, and the Linwood Park community wanted to help to keep her community spirit alive. For that reason, I respectfully request your support in dedicating this township property to the late Mary G. Sealander. Thank you for your consideration in this matter.
Brad Toll? You're speaking on the library?
With reference to the library, I'm Brad
I'm
Toll.
gonna- For the library, I'm going to extend the time a few minutes to allow.
You got 5.
Thank you very much. I'm Brad Toll, 126 Strathmore Road in Havertown, Pennsylvania. I think we've heard a lot of numbers about what things cost, how it'll affect taxpayers. But more than numbers and more than anything else, one of the things we have to decide is what we want this township to look like in the future. What do we want things to be like? My family has been here in Havertown since 1961. Some of them have passed away. I'm still here, thank God. At least I was this morning. You have mentioned in all sincerity, you really want a new library. Well, that's great. Where do you put it? And right now, the option seems to be near a police station, which begs the question, why would we want to put a library with another building of a municipal police station, an administrative office, and the stadium? Besides all the traffic, who uses a library? Well, one of the things that happens is that children use a library. My 3 children, all when they were young, went to that library, and because I live so close, I was able to walk there with my children in a stroller. We had the good fortune not to have to drive, so we never took up any parking spaces. As they grew up, and they went through all of Haverford School, one's now a doctor. She's going to be a pediatric oncologist. She's just got accepted at Los Angeles, one of the better cancer hospitals. My other one is a special ed teacher for Elwyn, and she just got her master's. And my youngest is a full scholarship at Lehigh for academics for her master's. So I guess Haverford Schools did a very good job with my children. And the library that we have now seemed very adequate for that. One of the gentlemen here has spoken about the future and how libraries work. At dinner last week, I mentioned it to one of my friends who just came back from Thailand. And he said his child now can show his little notebook, and I notice you have a computer there. For $80 a year, he can get access to something like 50,000 children's books. And he gets it right there, on Wi-Fi, or on the internet, anytime. And then I thought about it. I said, geez, the cloud has been very good. And the cloud, by the way, is where they store all these books. So the gentleman who spoke about Bill Clinton's comment, well, yes, it is at their fingertips. But here we are trying to build a building to store books. Well, books are very much part of my present life, but in reality, all but Jim have a computer in front of them. I don't see any books here. Maybe Jim and I are just old-fashioned. Well, I can tell you that quite candidly, the future of a library and who uses it and how it's used is what you have to decide. And your knowledge level there has not once been discussed. So let's get some very good, important things out. Who uses the library? When do they use it? And what will they use it for presently and in the future? And what kind of building will we need? No longer do we keep things on parchment. No longer do we keep things in the old-fashioned way. So if we're going to have children walk to a library, why would we want children to walk down Darby Road to the busiest intersection, which is Manoa Road, versus where it is right now, where we have crossing guards, where we have easy access to the middle school and the high school if the children still do that. It was mentioned that the children go there now to the stadium. Well, you're absolutely right. Older children. Older children don't have to go to the library and generally don't. If they do, they go to the school or they use their laptop. Young children need a place to go with their parents and get acclimated to books. And that's what they do. They get taken to the library. So we have to decide as a township what a kind of a community we want. And so far, I've heard things from one person about drainage. I was unaware of a drainage problem, but I can tell you as a contractor and someone that repairs homes and businesses, how would I recommend to a person what to do if they had serious water problems in their home? Well, it affects their foundation. It causes severe damage. It can cause mold and mildew. It can cause the property values to decrease rapidly. Then I thought about other properties, and I thought about other things that I've said at these meetings. I remember the meeting I went to when I said, I thought that Y was going to be a problem with traffic. Everybody on the school board said, no problem, to use that term. I don't think anybody going up Wynwood Road, or Eagle Road rather now, can help but notice that we have traffic problems and parking problems. When I said the Giant and the Lowe's was going to increase crime, I was told no. Well, crime rate, according to the statistics I just got from the township, went up 35%. Let me repeat it louder so everybody hears it. 35%. I can tell you that affects property values. Nobody wants to move to Upper Darby and Stonehurst. They're not raising a family. It's Section 8. I got news for you, folks. The library on Garrett Road is brand new. It's on the public liquor building, the people that own public liquor. It was donated as a synagogue back in the 40s. Well, it's gone. So's the Mercedes-Benz dealer and everything else on Garrett Road. Well, I don't want to see Havertown end up like Upper Darby, Drexel Hill, Sharon Hill, Darby, Lansdowne, Clifton Heights. Am I making a point here that you got? Because the property value is there. I own a property in Lansdowne. My 3-bedroom single is in pristine condition. It's $1 less than the taxes I pay here in Havertown. But I can't sell it. Because the school district, they burnt the school down twice and they still don't have a clue who did it. So let me give you an impression. Why do they move here? They move here because of the quality of the neighborhood and the people that are here. And that's what's important.
Thank you.
Harry Bogosian, okay. Don't start the clipper yet.
Mr. Bogosian, how are you? Thank you.
Hi, my name's Gary Bogosian.
Push it up, Gary.
Yeah. Hello. My name's Gary Bogosian, 2410 Linden Drive, and I want to talk about the building. It's what I'm talking about tonight is not just proponent of the plan that I had put forth, but really a review of the study to try to offer some constructive suggestions and criticisms. And I want to say thanks for commissioning the report in a short time, and I think it's a good start. But I think there are significant considerations that should be incorporated before any final vote. And I've handed out a packet of my proposed improvements and sketch plans and some new information that I can just touch on tonight. First, a new summary matrix format should be created for understanding and clarity and incorporate additional pertinent information. This is in my attachment and will help everybody understand all of the options. Secondly, I'd hope to see my earlier economical option, the smaller police building and a Quattroni room renovation, included in the study. And this alternate, I believe, will give us facilities we need on a very reasonable budget. I've included two plan designs for renovating this building. Plan A expands the meeting room by 50%, increasing the seating to over 170, and building new ADA-compliant toilets at the rear. And Plan B, though fewer seats, is a better design, creating an actual lobby and some better spaces. I've also attached an option 8 site plan showing how a smaller police building can work well, freeing up the site. And I've reissued my 2 library parking options for you to look at, not included in the report, which are 8 additional spaces on Mill Road, leasing the old bank extra space along the rear alley. And we can increase the parking by 100% with these 2 options, making the renovated library a lot more viable. Third, I was disappointed at the lack of formal land planning for many of these options. Some of the schemes are just rehashes of prior footprints and site layouts. New options for, say, police-only or separate library buildings and other choices warrant new idea layouts. Also, no consideration was given to possibly acquiring additional land, such as the Wawa, for the larger program options. And using the old Manoa entry curb cut for all of these layouts is fundamentally unwise. This is arguably an untenable access point close to both the Wawa Drive and Darby Road. I think we need to do better on that one. Fourth, many of us have difficulty believing that in the densest incarnations, there's a minimal impact to the surrounding roads and intersections. A new police building program alone would preserve the current traffic, but others would likely need more than the extended left turn lane on Manoa. Also, there may be no thought given to stormwater management, which for this size of development should be substantial, whether it's new or existing. To conform with today's laws, there needs to be detention and retention basin considerations along with modern discharge scrubbing of the water. This would affect the site planning. There's no mention of simple pros and cons for each options. Some of these choices have significant factors beyond the financing, such as the schedule, library floor locations and the use and confluence of events and timing of the projects and the construction. Some of the bigger programs will take years to be built and used. And finally, the financing options, I think, should be consolidated into a simple matrix, and the existing $3 million bond needs to be included in the household tax number. It's not just how much median taxes go up, but how much debt is appropriate for our town. I hope the study can be improved and become the significant tool it was meant to be, and I'd be happy to explain any of this in more detail and volunteer to work with the town manager towards this goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. All right. Let's go into agenda items only. On this side, anybody here to speak about agenda items? First row? Second row? Terry Lynn?
My name is Terry Lynn Lizzie, 236